bat signal.
Cool. What's up, everybody on the interwebs? Armin over in the UK. Sarah, welcome. I think I'm hosting it on Twitch as well. Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
What's going on, Ben? Talented Ben Motion.
Yeah, a lot of people here already.
There are 18 people. That's like a full classroom. If this
Not
was
bad.
Not COVID.
Thanks for coming by, man. What up, what up? Locked and loaded.
Dang.
Big shout out to Lock and Loaded. He's the whole reason I got the course together to begin with. He helped me with the outline and everything. So
Oh man.
big ups to you. What's going on, Todd? What's going on, Jeremy? What up, what up?
Right. I think we're about good to go to our...
We got a good crowd tonight. 20 people. Pixel Purge, what's going on? Thanks for joining us.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, relax.
Welcome to a Mograph special. I'm Dave, and joining us today, this is, by the way, this is the Mograph Winbush Student Showcase Extraordinaire Extra. I don't know. I'll just keep putting names onto the end of it. Plus, plus, plus. That's what everybody does now. They do plus. Plus everything. This is Mograph Plus. Mograph Special Plus. I'm Dave, and I'm here with Jonathan Winbush. What's up, Jonathan Winbush?
What up, what up? Sorry, I was busy in the chat room.
Yeah.
I was seeing everybody here. I wanted to make sure I catched everybody. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Appreciate everybody stopping by. I'm going to have some fun tonight.
And then we got John Jag's knee.
Hi there. How are you, internet, on a scale of 1 to 10?
And then that's youtube.com/JohnJagsnee, JONJAGSNEE, for those of you trying to spell that. Then we got Gabby, a.k.a. Feeding Wolves, on the Instagrams.
Hi.
And then we got Logan Penny, not Piney, Logan Penny, Hollow Woodsman, on the Instagrams as well.
What's going on? I'd like to see, hey, Kenzie, Kenza, Jeff, Carlo, Ben. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, a lot of people showing up in the chat room tonight, and see what you've been working
Sarah,
on.
Raj.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about your process a little bit. We're gonna talk about what you've been doing and your experience with the course, and we might talk about some upcoming things as well. I know Unreal announced a lot of cool stuff lately. They're always announcing really cool stuff, though. That's the thing. So it's just every day there's something cool. And
Yeah, they literally just dropped like a second ago some more stuff. So
yeah, and it's medieval, which matches the medieval stuff we're doing. So that's like perfect timing on that.
Yep.
So I guess we'll just dump like right into it, and we're just gonna look at reels. We're gonna look at breakdowns. We're gonna talk, and so let's see, Gabby. Let's actually start with you. I'm gonna bring up your reel here, and you have a music track that may or may not be internet safe. I'm assuming it's internet safe. So
It is.
okay, good. So I'll play it kind of lightly in the background, and we'll just we'll watch and talk at the same time if that works. So
Thank you.
all right. So this is the reel that you've compiled of some of your stuff. I know that you are up on Instagram stories with something new almost every single day, which is pretty amazing how fast you're turning stuff out. I know you tag us and stuff all the time. I'm like, man, how do you do all of that? So these are some of your stories here, and then it goes into some of the other stuff you do. Now you use a capture suit in the stuff that you create a lot. And what is this suit, by the way? Is this the same one that Winbush has, or is this a different one?
That is the Extends Link suit and the Manus Prime 2 gloves.
So which one is better, I guess? Like,
I can't say anything.
oh, I see. It's sponsorship
I'll let
stuff,
Gabby
right?
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let Gabby take that one.
I see.
Honestly, they're both amazing. They both, like, what I love about Extends, and I'm sure a lot of people who use it have realized that I do everything inside of Unreal Engine. So the way their live link works, like you record your data, and then like I'll have the suit on and I'll record the data I want. And if I'm not sure about like where my body position is, let's say like the next video I want to do, I want to have like somebody holding a steering wheel, and I'm not really quite sure like how to position my hands based on the size and whatever position of the character. I can go inside of the project and then watch myself inside of that character and see like how I want to do it. And then I can go ahead and record it. That is just amazing. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of testing out Rococo. From what I understand, Rococo is able to do that as well. And they have all sorts of like virtual production tools that you can use as well. So I don't really think one is better than the other. I just happen to love Extends because it's just so like, it's so easy to use, and with Unreal, it's just perfect.
Well, you made a short, and it was the one with the character on the ice, and you know, I was watching that, and I was watching what you did for that, and the first thing I thought was how were you able to act this out so well? Do you have a background in acting or dance or choreography or anything, or are you just winging it?
Honestly, like when I made that video, I did not plan it out at all. Like I had the suit and I was like, I would just put it on every day. Like it just became a routine. Like it became a part of me. And every day I was like, I'm going to record something. And that one day I was just like, I don't know what I was thinking when I did it, but like I just did all of those actions. And I really wanted to get some cool shots of the hands, and I wanted like interacting with the weather. I actually thought that video was going to take place on like Mars or something, but I went with the ice scene instead. So yeah, I had no idea what I was doing when I recorded it. And then I ended up creating that whole set around the animations. I was like, you know what? This will look cool with this. So it kind of made itself. That video kind of created itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just, you know, built the set around it. It's kind of weird. Like being able to go into a character inside of Unreal and create this whole world that looks so real. And it's just amazing, you know, being able to like bring a 3D character to life. I think that's just so crazy. So I didn't even have to think about it. It just kind of happened.
And when you create these, now the course goes over data from a character, like FBX information, maybe bringing things like in and out of Mixamo and whatnot, but it doesn't specifically go over the capture suit, because that's something that's a little more specific. You really have to have that suit, and we're assuming that most new students don't have that suit. So what was the experience like learning that part of it? Were you already familiar with Unreal a little bit? Was this the first time you used one of these things?
Yeah. I took the course about 4 months ago, and I had no experience. Wow. Like I had just learned After Effects, and I learned it on YouTube from like Andrew Kramer. So I found out about virtual production, and I joined Matt Workman's Facebook group.
Yeah. And
somebody had asked in the comments, they're like, how does somebody get started in virtual production? Mind you, I had no idea what virtual production was. I was just like, it took me a while to figure out what it was. So he said in the comments, he's like, install and learn Unreal Engine. So I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I just have to find like the Andrew Kramer of Unreal. So I spent like a whole week, 2 weeks probably, just scouring the internet to find like a good teacher. And I ended up just like building game levels. And I'm like, it looks awful. And I'm like, how is someone supposed to make a film? Like, what am I doing? So this guy, JS Films, had a video on how to like use, how to do like a green screen inside of Unreal, how to like key it out. And he mentioned Winbush. And I was like, who's this Winbush? Like, I keep seeing, like, he keeps popping up, like, every time I'm looking for something. So I was like, all right, let me check this out. So the first video I found was the recreating the Mars landscape. And it was so cool. like in 30 minutes, we used an HDRI that how do you say his name, Jonathan?
Hugh Ho. Yeah, Hugh Ho.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hugh Ho, okay, took an image from the Mars InSight lander, and he keyed out the rover, and he actually made an HDRI out of that. So Jonathan showed how to import that inside of Unreal. In 30 minutes, I learned how to use an HDRI, how to use Quixel, how to install Bridge, like how to use the landscape. In 30 minutes, I was like, oh my God, like, where has this guy been? Like, thank you. And I just loved what I created. So yeah, he's kind of like, I'd say like the Andrew Kramer of Unreal Engine tutorials.
Nice.
Yeah, I take it. Appreciate it. Yeah.
And when you're doing motion capture, once you're done with it, are you mixing that to keyframes? How do you do the blending between motions?
I usually cheat, but so actually in the course, so when I found out that Jonathan released a course, okay, like I had gone through all of his tutorials, but when I saw that he had the Mograph course, I like literally like ran, got my wallet, paid for the course, and started doing it. And I was like, I need this. Okay, so it took me like 2 weeks to go through. And Logan, you were taking it as well. And you were like, wait till you get to the material section. And it was so good. So you actually, Jonathan, you did cover how to use the Mixamo, how to use Mixamo, and how you're supposed to export a character and then the animations. Like you mentioned that you have to export the T-pose and then you import the animations, according to that. And I'll be honest, a lot of tutorials skip that part. So because I knew that, I was like, okay. And then he showed how to like keyframe and blend the different, like the boxing shot, like how to take all those, I forget what boxer you were like talking about and using that as your example.
Conor McGregor, MMA fighter.
Yeah. So he showed how he blended them using the weights in the animation tab. So I actually do use that a lot, but I also kind of cheat, and most of the data is just like one big piece of data. So I never really have to blend it together. But if I do, I just like switch camera angles. I just kind of like cheat.
Hey, that's the easy way. It's
yeah.
super easy.
So
yeah,
you're acting out the entire sequence and then you're just cutting it up from there?
So I'll just do like different moves. Like that particular video started off with me like walking on a ledge. I was like, I just kind of want to walk on a ledge and see if I fall off. And that was the first animation I did. There was like so many that I recorded, and then each animation has its own camera. So that's how I do it.
So you just like do a whole bunch of stuff and then pick and choose what you like. That sounds pretty easy to me.
That's how you do it.
Cool. How much is one of those suits again? I know they're pretty expensive, right?
They're expensive, but it's definitely quality.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think it's around like $12K. But the thing is, you do everything inside of Unreal. I know. I heard somebody go, oh.
Yeah.
It has this thing called HD reprocessing. So when you're done with your animation, it cleans everything up for you. Okay. And like, let's say there's like a little finger jittering or something. It cleans everything up. So and also you don't have to like go through any other 3D software. Like I don't have to like retarget the animation and like, let's say Blender or whatever. I just bring in the rig that I want. Let's say I find a character, I put him in a T-pose, activate the live link, and then I remap that character and the animation on there. And then like, you're good to go.
Man. All right. So
It's
all I
kind
need
of
is 12 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least try out the software because
Yeah.
it's amazing,
Does it have sample animations and things in it you can pull in to try it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the backflip that you guys saw at the end of the reel, the backflip, that actually came in as like a sample. So I was like,
you weren't
this looks so
backflipping?
good. No.
Oh, okay. You could fake it. You could just pretend and then fall and then just mix in like, just add a keyframe and then just rotate the rest of the way. You'll be fine. It'll look fine, right?
I might even try that. I don't know.
It'd be worth a try, you know. Cool. Well, let's check out what Jags has here. Now, Jags, you've got 2 videos. You got Testimonial, and then you've got some of your work. So I'm going to start with the Testimonial. So I should probably turn the volume up. What's up?
Yeah, or start with that and then.
Cool.
Oh, did we lose you?
Cool. Oh, we're good. Here we go.
Okay.
Why, hello there, Internet. My name is John Jagsney. I'm a 3D artist and motion designer, and I would like to share with you my experience creating the Unreal by Jonathan Winbush on Mograph.com. Prior to taking this Unreal Engine course, I primarily worked with After Effects and Cinema 4D, and if you're experienced with that software, you'll know that Cinema 4D renders can be very, very long and time-consuming. And the biggest problem with that, if you're working as a freelancer, is sometimes you might not have the time to rapidly iterate. Bring in the Unreal Engine. So I really loved what I've seen on the TV show The Mandalorian and how they were able to do rapid iteration on set with live production. And I was like, you know what? That seems really cool. I wonder if you could do it for motion design. This course came out and I instantly bought it because there is so much potential here as a motion designer to do rapid iteration and really create awesome art with video game tools. After taking the course, I was able to land a handful of clients, one of them being Ultra Pro Entertainment. They make board games, trading cards, they work with companies like Magic the Gathering, and through extension I've been able to work on promotional videos for them and create content very, very fast. Because of the Unreal Engine, I'm able to bang out at least 2 projects a month, whether they be explainer videos or product promos, anything of that sort, and this would not be possible if I was not using the Unreal Engine. I just don't have the equipment at home to basically use a render farm, and Unreal allows me to just use real-time rendering and create really awesome art, promo videos, marketing videos. It helps me with my freelance business, and truthfully, it has made its money back tenfold, insanely. So I'm extremely grateful for the course. If you have interest in learning how to do motion design in real time, this is definitely the course that you would want to explore. It will dramatically increase your workflow, improve your pipeline, and yeah, I will leave it there. Thank you very much, and if you take the course, tell me about it. Hope it goes well for you. I know it was awesome for me. Take care. Bye.
All right, so I've got a question for you, Jag. So,
Yeah.
the reason that people are using Unreal Engine is, well, for production anyway, for motion graphics and production, is because it's real time. So, tell me about your experience in real time. You mentioned that in the video, and I've got a question for all of you as well, which should be a good discussion. Which is, how long do you think it will be before a majority of the motion graphics industry is either doing completely real-time or Unreal? I don't want to say necessarily Unreal, because you never know, right? Somebody else could introduce some crazy real-time thing. But as far as rendering goes, do you think that this is something that everybody's going to do? Do you think it's going to be a slow burn? Do you think there are some people that are always going to be rendering because of realism? Or do you think it's a matter of what the client's needs are?
I will say, yeah, I was talking to James last night. I had a good discussion with James from Pixels last night about this. Yeah, so the debate was offline rendering compared to online rendering, and especially for photorealism. And I would say at least 85% of car commercials out there that you see, that's all Unreal Engine. If you go to the mill and look at their car rig that they built up, they have this car rig that's basically has all these QR code trackers all around it, so they can make the suspension work like any type of car type. So you don't actually need the car. Basically, you drive this fake car around. In real time and Unreal, they're putting, Lamborghinis or BMWs or whatever, and the cars look, real, and they're interacting the way that the cars need to be. And same thing with the Super Bowl, CBS Sports, all the Super Bowl spots, that was all Unreal. And so I would say, it's the type of thing, you use the tools that are most comfortable for you. And so like I've really become comfortable using Unreal along with Cinema 4D, just converging them together. And my output has just been tremendous at that point. But I know there's a learning curve there as well, which is why I put the course out. But I would say it's slowly getting there, especially I think once like Unreal Engine 5 comes out, because that seems to be the one that everybody's like really hyped on. Like I hear so many people saying like, when Unreal Engine 5 comes out, I'm going to take the dive into it. And, I feel like that's going to be, the tipping point for the industry. But I mean, like a lot of sports stations and a lot of movie productions, they're already using it. It's mostly like the petites that are still doing a lot of offline rendering.
Right. And Jags, you use this. Where did you actually start off? Like what industry did you start off in where you discovered all of this? Was it video design?
So it was mainly video. Prior to working with Unreal, I was doing a lot of filming for a company called Super 7. They make toy videos, and I was just doing their I would fly up to them and film their toys of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Thundercats or whatever, their Ultimates figures. And when COVID happened, we couldn't fly up, we couldn't fly, so that was not realistic. And on top of that, I've always had people asking me, because I prior to this, I would do faux 3D, 2.5D animation in After Effects, where I like literally just flipping flat PNGs. And people are like, oh, this is cool, can you do 3D? And most of the time I would just say, no, I don't, because I just hadn't learned 3D. And then a company called Ultra Pro, they make sleeves and card games, board games. They hit me up, or a friend of mine that used to work at another company with me, Cryptozoic, he was like, hey, you want to do this 3D video? And I had no Cinema 4D experience, and I said yes. I was just like, you know what, let's do this, let's figure it out, because it was at the same time the School of Motion Cinema 4D Basecamp was literally like the following week, so I literally just bought that course instantly. I was like, all right, let's figure this out. And that project was challenging, because I had like the slow render times that I had never experienced before, having dealt with like literal filming on a DSLR and maybe some Trapcode particular render times. Like nothing is like a 10-second render took 48 hours for me because I just didn't know any better.
And you were on a CPU, probably CPU render engine too, right?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out Redshift, but I just couldn't get anything to match, so I just ended up using Physical for that. And the project looked great. They loved it. But at that same time, there's a handful of YouTubers who I was like, oh, I'd really like to do what they do, but with like, I want to step it up. So seeing The Mandalorian, I was like, okay, maybe there's a world where I could download Unreal and create backgrounds for like product videos. So let's say like my original intention was like beer companies or kombucha or something, where you see those like fancy like spinning bottles with like exploding fruit or something behind it, because there's YouTubers who do that on like paper backgrounds and it looks really cool. But I was like, you could do so much more with this. With Unreal, like we could just make our own backgrounds and iterate on the fly like they did in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Hint, Mandalorian. Too much of a fan. And so I hit up a friend of mine. His name is Michael. He actually works at Epic. I don't know if he would appreciate if I said his name, but he was on the international sales team, and he's like, hit up these people. So I think there's like cinematography database. He does a lot of virtual production stuff on YouTube. And then just through the grapevine of falling down that rabbit hole, I ended up getting coming across Jonathan's channel and was like, okay, take my money now. And I showed Ultra Pro some of the stuff that you could do in Unreal, and showed them some of the assets that we could be working with. I was like, look, we can do some really cool things in Cinema 4D, but we could iterate faster and probably put these products inside scenes instead of just like a flat white background. So they're like, sure, do it. I did that for I guess that was my second or third project with them for Magic the Gathering. The first project I did officially with them was through that dinosaur commercial called Jurassic Snack, but that was working with like another part of the team. They didn't know the difference between Cinema 4D or Unreal, so I kind of just like did it anyways. And then since taking the course, I was taking the course while I was doing that dinosaur commercial and just like trying to like, okay, this tutorial matches with this. Oh, I need to learn about materials right now. Like literally just learning on the job. I ended up finishing all the videos, but it was one of those things where like they have such a high volume of work that they need done for board games. And I just didn't have the time to deal with physical renderers if I have to like go from one project to the next literally back to back, and sometimes the timelines ended up blending. Long story short, just the ability to do rapid iteration. So like I do a viewport render in Cinema 4D, show that to them, be like, does this look okay? How does like, are the pieces moving in the right direction? Are they moving in the right spot? And then if they say yes, then I'll literally just bring it into Unreal, build a level around it, export that, and then I'll do some minor compositing in After Effects, like, oh, add a logo here or something.
Right.
Just because I haven't figured out how to do like text animation like you can in After Effects yet, but I'm sure there's
nice. You're good using After Effects for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting to hear how some people come
simple.
to this in a different way. Like my path to Unreal was through a little more Mograph Cinema 4D, whereas you're like jumping right into this Unreal thing almost, and it's interesting to see the difference between people taking Unreal now and saying, I'm new to this, I'm just going to take hold of it and see what happens. And then the people who are kind of old school in Redshift, in Octane, and maybe a little hesitant just because it's hard to learn something new. It's almost like you have an advantage because you're jumping in this stuff for the first time with this program, or we've been taking all these programs for all these years that are completely different. And so someone like me, I'm like, okay, I've kind of messed with Unreal. I kind of know how it works. I've been, obviously learning about it through the classes and things. But I'm the type of person where it's like I'm not going to take the full plunge until I know like this is a thing. And for me, it's mainly a time thing. For some people, they've got time for Unreal. They're like, hey, it's COVID. I've got 2 weeks of nothing going on. I'm going to learn Unreal. And I've been talking to quite a few people about where this is headed as far as the industry, because we know it works for Mandalorian. We know that it works for certain types of videos and things, but what about Redshift? Okay, you're a Redshift artist, or let's say Octane, and you're using a GPU render. You really get down into the nitty gritty when it comes to details of rendering, right? Every little pixel has to be perfect. I know that Unreal isn't 100% perfect. It's not going to look 100% like something in Redshift or Octane. So the question again becomes like, what do you think the timeline is for that? Let's look like 10 years down the road. What do you think? What percentage of renders do you think are going to be real time, as opposed to, Ash
100.
Thorpe perfectly crafted like render where every pixel is perfect?
I think, if I may, I feel like it'll end up being like a 90% real time, 10% photorealism. And that's coming from if you look at the way I see photorealistic renders improving in technology and improving in quality versus Unreal on another elevator going up at the same time, I feel like the speed at which real-time rendering will improve in look and quality will increase at a faster rate than what like Redshift and Octane can do. So eventually they'll end up balancing out. So maybe in 10 years we'll be at where Redshift and Octane are right now with Unreal in real time, and then how much better can photorealistic renders get at that point? Like they already look really good. But I'll let everyone else chime in.
Because you've got Unreal Engine or these real-time engines in general that are fast, but they're going up in quality. And then you got the opposite problem with the render engines, right? They got great quality, and they're trying to push down the speed. And you've got things like Redshift RT, and you've got things like Octane Brigade that are going to come out, and they're going to be close to real time in the viewport, but they're taking a hit as far as quality in order to be real time. So it's kind of the same thing.
The way that I look at it too is it's not only because Unreal is not it's a program, it's not a render engine. So there's other advantages too. Like you were just talking about the viewport. Like basically in the viewport of Unreal, what you see is what you get, and it's extremely fast. Like I was streaming myself working last night on Discord with Logan. He was showing me some stuff, but literally I made like a forest with like a million trees in it, and I'm just like flying through it like it's nothing. And I mean, it looked pretty decent there. And just being able to navigate those type of spaces, because I do a lot of, like environment work for a lot of shows that I work on and stuff like that. And so to be able to just kind of like plow it all out and not have to take a hit, just like viewport wise, like, other DCCs I've worked on, it's like I've usually had to scale back or have to, make the viewport a little bit lower just so I can navigate when I have a lot of geometry in there. I mean, stuff like that in itself, I think is like a huge value and a huge time saver whenever you're working.
And you have things like Octane for Unreal. So you could always start out with like the real-time stuff for the visualization. And then it's like, okay, I like this. Now I'm going to render it in Octane.
Because they do, Redshift's, I think, one of the only ones that aren't in Unreal yet. So you have Octane in Unreal. You have V-Ray in Unreal. I know Jules was saying that Brigade is going to be able to work with Unreal as well. And so, I mean, if you have a favorite render, it's all going to be, usable inside of Unreal as well. I believe Corona might be there as well. So there's a lot of overlap in there,
And what a lot of people may not know if they haven't used Unreal before is that in this version, this not the newest version, but in the last couple of years, the sequencer is in there. And if you haven't seen how it works, it's really cool because it's like working in something like Adobe Premiere. And that's just like a game changer right there. Because if you have a scene and you want to set it up and do camera moves, all of that, you're looking at it real time and you're editing these clips almost like you're editing a piece of footage in Premiere, which that's something that like just blew me away the first time I saw it. I think Brandon Clements sent me something that he had mocked up, and I'm just looking at it and I'm like, man, I can just switch the camera shots, I can change the timing, I can change the focal length, all of that on the fly. And you cover that in your course, but I imagine that comes in handy for just about anything. If you're going the extra mile and doing the capture suit or anything else. So that at that point you do an edit and then you just export, right? You just say file export and type a couple settings in, and a minute later you got your whole render. Bring it in after. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm sold.
I was going to let Logan speak more on that because his project, you just went through a bunch of those type of ideals.
Yeah. What's tell us what your video is here, Logan.
So the video is like I pretty much was poking Winbush for the entire summer, like, yo, when's that course gonna drop? When's that course dropping?
My motivation.
as soon as it came out, I was all over it, and I just crushed that thing. I love content and learning, and then I mean, it was started just like a Gabby, like basically end of August, and been going nuts on it ever since. And so this, I randomly got selected. I signed up to be part of the virtual fellowship in the summer, and obviously I have no film skills or production, so like it was a shot in the dark. I didn't get picked. That's all good. But then, how many months later, they're like, oh, you've been selected for this private challenge where you get to do it's 5 weeks, and it's quoted as 40 hours a week of learning to create a virtual short. And that's when I basically, when I looked at the syllabus, I realized like I've already done 80% of these courses just on my own. As soon as I finished Winbush's course, I was hooked. I just dove in, and I've probably spent somewhere between 80 and 100 hours on the Unreal online learning portal. So yeah, it was really, this whole video is probably 3 minutes of render time.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And
And the same thing here. You're able to go through and use the sequencer and just set up these scenes, right? Just you just play the whole thing out first.
he basically, Winbush explains it really well in his course, but you've got your master, and then inside your master sequence, you have, you know, sub sequences and level sequences. So this is in a few different environments, and so then I can just put each big clip inside of the master, and then, like you said, like just like Premiere, I'm doing all my edits, you know, getting notes, getting comments, change this camera angle, change this camera move. And it's like, you know, even yesterday I finished this and showed Winbush, and he's like, yeah, man, it's great, but my logo's backwards. I'm like, oh my God, idiot. And, you know, normally, you know, if I did that with Redshift, I'd be like, you're going to have to live with it. Like, I can't render
Yeah, at the
before the
last
show.
second.
And then, whereas I'm like, oh, it's all good. Like, we're just chatting. And I was just like, you know, here we go. Done. Right.
Yeah.
Like, went in there, turned the logo, re-rendered, you know, 1 minute later, okay, switch the footage in After Effects. I still do my compositing in After Effects. You can do it in Unreal.
Yeah,
It's just something I haven't really
it's embedded
really
in your
focused
brain.
on.
You know.
It's just part of like what you were saying with, you know, how long is it going to take for people to catch on? Some people love to learn. Other people like to do what they know and keep it easy. Now, do you want to spend the time learning a new engine, or do you want to just say, well, I already know this and I want to get the job done as fast as I can my way? And kind of like Jags, like, you know, I'm coming on being in the industry for 2 years, so I don't really have anything like hard coded where, you know, I must use Octane, I must use Redshift. I started at School of Motion with Basecamp, and, you know, like many people, EJ's my hero, and, you know,
Mine
learned
too.
all my foundations from that dude. And like, if I ever meet him in real life, he's getting a huge bear hug. But like, yeah, same with Wimbush, because I mean, basically, like, I love cinema and I love Unreal, and I just like being able to combine them is so much fun. And kind of on Winbush's point, like, I'm a huge dreamer and I love to use my imagination. And what I would always envision in my mind, I had a really hard time translating in cinema, because as soon as I started, you know, building out the scene, unless you're using layers and, you know, you're turning off your deformers, you're turning off your subdivisions, and, you know, you're optimizing your scene inside cinema to get that viewport speed, you don't need to do that in Unreal. You just work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, boom, I made an environment. What assets do I want to use? Okay, fire in these assets, and then you start, you know, just, Wimbush has said this, I say it all the time, it's like digital Legos.
Yeah.
I was huge Lego fanatic, and, you know, spent hundreds of hours playing in the sandbox building forts as a kid. So now I just feel like a big kid inside Unreal, like, oh, I can make all this stuff that like I envision.
But
And
I thought the one cool thing that Logan's a testament of is, like, the knowledge that you know, and like Redshift or Octane, that all applies to Unreal.
Totally,
Because
right.
I mean, there's still 3D programs. Because like Logan, he took David's Octane Jesus' course,
Mm-hmm.
and all
Amazing.
those principles that he learned there, he started using those in Unreal, and they just translate it right over. So it's kind of like, once you have your foundation built, all this stuff is kind of interchangeable.
I would not be flying as fast as I am inside Unreal without having that foundational knowledge of using Redshift and Octane and the node system. You know, I got a bit of a leg up because my original background in education is I have a degree in computer science. So, knowing how to code. Not saying that I could jump in and code, but knowing just your way around some code makes it like a lot easier. And blueprinting is all just nodes. And so if you really like making materials inside Redshift, and people like Raw and Rendered making those huge complex node networks, like it becomes so much more fun inside Unreal because you can then apply that knowledge to blueprints, which is stuff like, if you imagine a treasure chest, for example, and then, okay, I built that out, it's a solid mesh, or you can build it out similar in Cinema where you have like, okay, the chest opens, then you have locks, and you have all these moving pieces. You put that all together inside of a blueprint, and you bring that blueprint in a sequencer as a spawnable actor, and then my camera for that scene and those actors are only live in that sequence. So then I go to the next sequence in the exact same scene, and all of those actors are gone without me having to like change visibility or anything. And just the whole workflow. I blame Winbush for like, now I spend like 90% of my time in Unreal, 10% inside Cinema. And my biggest, if you're showing it next, is, I had so much fun being a part of the QA team with Lights Camera Render, and David is a huge inspiration, and it taught me so much. I cannot say enough good things about that course as well. But like Winbush said, like they just, I don't know who it was, a rando had Dave was promoting Lights Camera Render, and he'd said like, oh yeah, but you got to use Octane, and then I basically took that as a personal challenge, and I was like, no you don't. Like, Octane's cool if you like that, but I tried to do all of the assignments at that point moving forward inside Unreal. And because I'm like, you know what? It's so much more than just this is how you use Octane. Yeah, he's Octane Jesus for a reason. He's a master at Octane, but all of the camera moves, all the stuff about like the theory, it's completely transferable.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to use
theory driven. It's a very theory driven
Oh,
course.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But I would never have even thought about that without taking Winbush's course. And so that was kind of like, it was the perfect thing for a beginner. Like I hadn't ever opened up the editor. I'd open it and you look at Unreal compared to Cinema and you're just like, I don't even know where to start. And, it's different. And then, he just walks you through it so easily that, like he's got that chill demeanor always, right? He's like, oh, it's no thing. So, basically that was it. I was hooked. And, the Discord community that he has is one of the happiest places on the internet. So many like positive people, and we all encourage each other there and share projects and share, hey, look what, it's always this like, who's going to drop the Unreal news today, right? Free content, or he put out that metahuman stuff, and when you're like, what's going to be in 10 years? It's going to be 100% real time in my mind.
Yeah.
Like if you think about how you would render out a skin shader in Octane or Redshift, and then you go and look at that metahuman, it's insane, right? To me, that is them teasing Unreal 5, and when Unreal 5 drops, everybody who's been on the fence about Unreal is going to be like, why was I sleeping on this? I should have been learning this from Winbush months ago. It's not this thing where Unreal 5 is different than Unreal 4. It's like, oh, do you know Cinema R23? Well, you're going to know Cinema R24. So it's kind of like, it's just giving you more power, and the sky's the limit.
It's another tool for the arsenal, because I still use Cinema all the time. So it's like I'm interchanging them, and so still using After Effects, Photoshop. It's just another tool to the belt.
It's totally like this artisan approach, right? I would never say I'm dropping blank, right? Well, you don't need to. It's all about what, I'm not going to use the same tool to grout a floor that I would to build the frame of a house, right? So
yeah, and it's interesting because what you're doing using the sequencer, and all of you are doing in Unreal, is you're able to be your own digital DP, and that's something that's live on the fly, and it's not real time in Cinema and Octane, but it's something that David Ariev pushes a lot, and that's basically what his course is about, is being this digital DP. And you know, he's doing it in Octane, you're doing it in Unreal, but you made this track, or you made a video game out of David's track. So the way that this kind of started is the inspiration is, I think, Rainbow Road for David.
Of course. Yeah. And for anyone from the 80s who then played Super Mario.
Yeah. Because Rainbow Road's that crazy, twisty track. And the first time, or the second time that we went up to Toronto, me, David, and Matt, we went to Deadmau5's house, and we were creating content. And Ariev was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a racetrack," because Joel had like this model of his car that he had ordered, his actual car he had ordered, but he had a model of it before the actual car. And so he gave it to David. He's like, "This is my car that I'm gonna have here in the next year or so." And so I think he took some paint shaders from different people. He built this road for it that was like Rainbow Road. So this is similar to that track that he did for Deadmau5. There's a whole video with Deadmau5, you know, his head sticking out of the car, and
yeah.
So this is a similar track, and in his course he talks about it. But you took the track that he designed, and you brought it into Unreal, and I guess you made the streets and things like hard body. How does that work?
Yeah, so this is still very much an alpha concept, and you know, Unreal is a big engine. There's a lot of little things to learn to make a game. I've been learning that slowly, but David's lesson, he basically breaks down that Deadmau5 video, and then he teaches you how to make a track. So I made that track alongside with him, like in the lesson, and then. I immediately, he's like, you know, you're faking camera moves to make it look like you're playing. And I was like, no, I want to actually play. And and then, so yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to use the knowledge from Winbush's course, and, you know, using the Datasmith, and brought that over. And I did that a couple of months ago. I've learned quite a bit more since then. But basically, to make this easy, there's things in Unreal that you can merge the entire mesh as one. So because I'm still kind of figuring out how to do the game aspect of Unreal, I just decided to make it easy on myself by merging the entire mesh so it's one collision shape.
Yeah.
And like, obviously this I have designed out so that I could retexture each specific element. But just for like testing purposes, it's all about like, is it playable? And you know, at one point I was like, geez, I could make a new track every week, right? Like, once you have the knowledge how to build one of these, you know, the sky's the limit. And you know, David and I talked about like, oh, we loved F-Zero, and can we do a remake? And he's like, what about like loop-de-loops? And I'm like, you can cheat physics in Unreal. Like, the car is stuck to the floor, so you can do loops, and it's not just going to drop. Right. It sticks there. And so, I'm like, this is way too much fun. You know, finished the lesson and just was like, you know, I was so excited. I sent it to him with my time, and in like 5 minutes, he sent me a time better than mine. I was like, you son of a...
We're going to have to play it like on Winbush's Saturday night.
That's
games,
the goal.
Challenge
the goal
each other.
Is like for me to be able to take that, then figure out how to set up the multiplayer server, and so we can get, you know, 8 or 12 people. And then it can be like, oh, you know what? This corner sucks. Like, we all crash here.
Right.
Like, how can we make this? Or like, you know, why don't you throw this in? And it'll be like, oh, okay, like, we're building this game as a community, and then we're playing it each week. You know, it's really
making it
the
better.
Game nights.
Yeah,
the game night's been amazing, just for you know, social interaction during COVID, and just jokes, and you know, having a good time.
I think it's funny that I've never met Winbush in person. That's just
we've probably
crazy.
crossed paths. Like, I've been at every single convention for like the past decade. Like, cause I usually, but it's like I'm always around the Maxon booth. Like I'm speaking at Adobe or AMD or, Asus or something like that. So it's like we're always in the same vicinity, but I guess we just never clicked.
Never officially met.
Yeah.
Or we've never hung out since we officially met. And so that's what Saturdays are good for,
I was looking forward to it this year. COVID kind of killed it because we were all going to go to NAB. But
it was going to be so good.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. We'll see. Maybe it's supposedly there's NAB in October. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, question. We'll start with, we're going to start with John. And what was the hardest thing that you had to learn about Unreal?
Myself or Jonathan?
Yourself. You.
No,
okay,
you're
got
John.
it. That's a good question. So I'm thinking back to the Jurassic Snack, that first promo I did, and I think it was literally just like trying to get a landscape look good for the background. And also I'm colorblind, so I like trying to get the fog to match well, and then trying to get in particles and whatnot. And that's still something I'm really trying to figure out. But like getting everything to live in the same ecosystem so that the scene and the background all mesh as well. In another video I did, I ended up doing my animation in Cinema 4D and then doing my scene building in Unreal, but I would take the camera information from Cinema 4D and bring that as a Cineware file into After Effects, and then just create particles with Trapcode Particular to interact with that Cinema 4D camera.
Yeah.
Winbush just put out a tutorial on how you can take your camera moves from Unreal into Cinema 4D into After Effects now. So I will probably end up using the Unreal particle system if I need to. And at that point, I don't think I'll even need to use Trapcode Particular. I love Red Giant stuff, but just like basically getting the scenes to work well with the card elements that I have in the scene, for my projects at least.
And being colorblind, what kind of colorblindness do you have?
Red-green. Fortunately, my girlfriend helps me out a lot of the time with that.
Yeah, being colorblind. I'm slightly colorblind in certain areas, and having to deal with certain aspects of trying to color correct is just a nightmare.
The biggest thing I do in Unreal is I don't like changing the color of lights. I can quantify color temperature, so I'm like, you know what? I like the range between 6,000 and 4,500. Like my big softbox right here is quoted at 5,400 Kelvin. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with that within that because that's easy for me. That's a number. But like when I actually look at color, it's just out the window.
You see, I'm only slightly, so I kind of overcompensate sometimes, and I'm like, is that green, or is it just me? Or am I pushing it too far away from green because I'm overcompensating because I know I'm colorblind? Sorry.
So are there any programs that compensate for that? Because, like you play a video game and they have like a colorblind mode. So I wonder, like the Cinema or Unreal or Maya, like do they have a colorblind mode?
I think
there's a trick that I learned from Mark Christensen, and he teaches the VFX for motion at School of Motion, and it's basically color correcting for the colorblind. And he's like, he worked with a colorist who was colorblind, and he's like, this is the best color grader I've ever worked with. And basically, he does each channel RGB in black and white. And so each channel he's working on just the reds, but in black and white, and then he's working on, then the greens, and he doesn't even need to know what the final image looks like to someone who's not colorblind, because he's doing the whole work based on a value scale, and he understands like how the numbers, each percentage of RGB work with each other, and so that to me like blew me away that you could even do that. So
I rely a lot on my meters,
vector scopes,
vector scope, waveform, all that fun stuff. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, Gabby, what was your hardest thing to learn in Unreal? What was your hurdle?
Everything.
I don't know. I feel like you picked it up pretty quick from what you're doing already.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it looks that way. Like everything is Like I just when I think I'm like, yeah, I just learned lighting, then I'll like open up a project. I'm like, all right, yeah, the lighting's gonna look great, and then it looks awful, and I'm like, what is going on? So I'm always learning. It's got so much that I don't think I've mastered anything quite yet.
Well, I imagine that doing the suit for the first time was probably a little bit challenging. Did you have any difficulties, like getting it all synced up and working, or is it just pretty
So
easy?
they have Extends actually sent me like a bunch of webinars before I even got the software. So I watched all these webinars as to how it works, and then they have some really good tutorials, specifically the Unreal tutorials. Like they had like 2 really good ones, and I still use those. Like it shows you step by step how to do it. So I literally just kept following that. And after doing it like 100 times, I was like, all right, I think I got this. But that I actually like, because I did it so many times, like, but even so, there's still little things that I still want to perfect. Like the finger data is it's so precise that, like, for instance, the robot video, like her thumbs, when I just followed the tutorial and I did it the way it's supposed to be done, her thumbs came on backwards, like they looked backwards, but the motion was perfect. But I was like, her thumbs are backwards and that doesn't look right. So I ended up switching them and they looked right, but they were like really stiff. So I ended up like, I was like, maybe I should learn like rigging and stuff like that. So I started learning rigging in Maya and then Blender, just so like I can learn how to fix that if it ever happens, you know. But I'm just what am I bad at with Unreal? What was the hardest thing? Definitely lighting. Lighting is hard. It's so important. And rendering out really good, like when you want to put something in the movie render queue, like if you're dealing with like animation, I kind of struggled with that because there would be like these trails around my character whenever the character would move. So like I needed help with that. Yeah.
What was that? What were the trails?
Out the gate, motion blur can be pretty heavy.
Actually,
sometimes.
it was, yeah. And I asked you guys, I was like, hey guys, how do you fix this? So it was motion blur. I don't think I've perfected it quite yet. So if anybody's listening that knows how to fix that, that'd be great.
Let me know.
Yeah, there's that kind of Unreal Engine blur look. It has a look. You know, even if you're in just the basic scene with the little running character, and when you look around and you swish pan, you have that very distinct Unreal Motion Blur look.
Yeah, that's all from the gaming background. Like when you play a game, you could tell when it's made in Unreal.
And I can imagine that lighting is also difficult, not just because you're learning how to light in Unreal, but you're learning about what types of lights to use. And it's not just, spot or Omni or whatever. You have like different types of lights that you have to use for different situations. So you've got like a static light, right? And tell me if I'm getting this right. You've got the static light, you've got the types of lights that have to be calculated, like dynamic lights. I think Winbush, you kind of you had like a pool table for an example in one of your videos.
Right.
And so like if you have a light over your pool table and all the balls are moving on the table and you want to see the shadows, that light has to calculate on the fly, like live.
Yeah.
But if you have maybe some other things in the background, you don't necessarily have to calculate that. And making sure you have that set right, I imagine that has some impact on your render time.
No, kind of. Like that was really set up because at heart, Unreal is a game engine. And so all that stuff stems from basically game developers because you only have so many resources on like your Xbox or your PlayStation. And so they're trying to use as least amount of resources as possible. Right. That's why they have like big lighting and big shadows and things of that nature. But when you're doing cinematics, like you could basically have all dynamic lighting and everything should be fine there. And I think from what I remember, they said Unreal 5 is going to be all dynamic lighting. Like there's no more light baking or anything just because, like your Series X and your PS5 with those SSDs on there, like that technology alone allows them to allot for that stuff. And so that's going to be translated into the engine here when it comes out this year.
So the dynamic stuff, if you're trying to just do a render, it might add like
you could do all
a
dynamic,
millisecond or something to your render, but it's not going to be like super heavy.
Yeah.
And
if you have an older computer, like if you're chugging on maybe like a lower end 10 series card or something, then baking the lighting might help you out because those cards are older. But like if you're on an RTX card, then you could go full on dynamic lighting for all that stuff.
Did any of you have to learn any code? Because I know a lot of people are gonna be like, I don't want to have to touch code. Is there a way to not touch code?
Not at all.
Yes.
Don't have to.
Yes. Yeah. You can, if you know the node system.
Yeah.
And you can think kind of like in an algorithmic way, then you can use the nodes to build what you want to do without having to write any code. And so it's basically visual scripting, right?
Blueprint.
And so
kind of like Espresso in Cinema 4D.
It's kind of like Espresso,
kind of,
that has a lot more functionality. And I mean, even in the material system, like making materials animate and move and doing stuff like that, it's all really in like a coding kind of mindset. So, I mean, I guess for me, I would like the hardest thing I would say is just kind of to Jonathan's point is Unreal is not meant to make the prettiest thing possible at all times. It's meant to be played across every system on the same level at all times, right? And consistent. And that's where that was the biggest thing to wrap my head around is like, once you understand how it works as an engine versus how Cinema and any of those kind of offline renderers work, it's a completely different mindset, right? Most of the Unreal developers, they're always thinking about performance and optimization for being interactive. Whereas, in Redshift in a product render, okay, well, it's 5 minutes of still, but this thing's going to be real pretty, right? Or it's 30 minutes of still. So I think just getting your head around what the engine is good at and how to leverage that coming from Cinema is something that's a bit of a hurdle if you don't have a background in writing algorithms or understanding how a machine thinks. And the more you can think like a machine.
Computer
that
science
kind
or
of just like
right?
I'm not going to pretend I'm like a code guru or anything.
Yeah.
But just being able to understand how to think in a procedural and algorithmic way is advantageous.
Have any of you used code before? Or what were you going to say, John?
So one of the things that I like when I opened up Unreal for the first time, but like prior to opening it, I was like afraid because of that perception or that it's video game software.
Yeah.
And because of that, you have to use code to like program these actions and whatnot. So when I opened it for the first time, I literally called in my girlfriend and her friend because I was taking it like my first time opening it. We had a friend over, and I started building a level, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like painting. And my girlfriend and her friend are illustrators. They went to art school and they do amazing art. I'm like, just paint this. And they're like, holy crap, this is amazing. And that just got me so in love with the software because it literally comes off as a very intuitive piece of software for artists. Like, you don't have to be insanely knowledgeable on the tech side. They build the UI of the Unreal Engine to be as intuitive as it can be with the technical requirements that it has. Like, foliage is literally just paint with a big blue dome that's like, you will paint here. Like, how easy is that compared to like using a cloner object in Cinema 4D to duplicate a bunch of rocks or trees or something? I haven't built scenes in Cinema 4D nearly as much, so maybe there's a more efficient way, but Unreal is just so easy.
Yeah, there was a conversation, I think, in our Slack the other day about how there are some painting tools to paint like that, but none of them are quite what everybody wants. Maybe Maxon will do their own, but...
Yeah, I've pushed Maxon to do it a while ago because I even did a tutorial like using the hair inside of Cinema 4D and translating that into being able to paint, like foliage and stuff. But the setup for it is just so monotonous. Like I had to do a tutorial just so I wouldn't forget how to do it, like the whole setup, instead of just taking your grass, throw it into a paintbrush and just, stroke away. It's like you had to go through this whole ordeal and make sure you had all your checks and everything clicked on. And, it was just not too intuitive at all. So
And
I pushed Max on. I've showed them
Yeah.
several times. So hopefully, they take heed to it.
I think I think Merck has something. Of course, Merck is freaking genius, but I think Merck has something. I haven't heard a lot out of Merck lately. Is Merck okay? Is everything okay with Merck?
Last I heard, he had like a bad accident.
Yeah, but he was better,
And
and I don't know. Just haven't felt like I've been hearing the Merck hype. Our big joke is that he's actually AI. So we'll see.
He needs to update that. Was it Trypogen or Tryptogen plugin?
Yeah.
Topogen.
Yeah, there's some incredible.
They're both
stuff.
really good.
Have any of y'all used code on purpose?
Expressions in After Effects. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I built
Yeah.
some stupid blueprint stuff, but nothing where I'm like, I coded a game. It's like, oh, you made a door open and close with C++. Like, go.
yeah.
But I mean, it's just being able to. There's one of the courses on the Unreal online learning platform. Basically teaches you how to interchange Blueprint with C++. And that's where you really get into leveraging the power of the engine. And C++ is okay, but once you understand how it works, then you can start reading through and you can get an idea, oh, I know what this is doing. It's just there's so many different node names. It's not like, oh, I know 20 nodes. It's like, you need to know like 400 nodes to be able to like the thing you want to do in your mind probably already has a function built by someone.
Right.
And then so you need to learn how to leverage that function that they built and then like basically do that kind of retrosynthetic analysis of like, okay, this function just gives me the distance from my camera to whatever object I'm pointing at. Now I'm incorporating that into something else to, change how the displacement looks from the camera that you're looking at based on that little macro code bit.
Yeah, it's very much like Espresso, but like you said, there's just more options. And I guess one of my questions would be, if you're doing virtual production and you're not doing a game, is there any reason that you would need code? And if there is, how do you go about like getting that? Because like just say you don't want to do the code and you're like, I need someone to help me with this thing. It's probably really simple. What is your resource to go to for code, and why would you need it, I guess?
Well, I would say that the online documentation is amazing. And there's even, I don't know the name of the website off the top of my head. There's a website where it is just strictly blueprints that people have made to do different stuff, and it's free. And you just upload your blueprint, and anyone can grab it and analyze it and start digging in. And so I know someone in Winbush's Discord server is asking me about helping them translate an Espresso node setup that basically it adjusts the camera focal length depending on its distance from the person. And then so you just can think like, logically, okay, here are the, the 5 things that I need to do, and how do I build up a node network so that they interact, so that, my world position of the camera changes at the focal length. And a lot of this stuff is, if you can draw it out and start trying to explain it to yourself like a child, and, like, okay, what's my camera doesn't work. That's the base case. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, my camera works. Now what am I doing? And it's just kind of like, you just have to think like, if a machine gets in trouble, does it break it? So I don't know. I honestly, after Winbush's, I would go straight to the Unreal online learning platform. There's just so much there. But I would never even have given Unreal a second look without his course. And that's kind of like why, I tell everybody I can, like, do his course and then dive into the deep end and find out what your jam is in that. Is it only look dev? Is it making games? Is it making, platformer, race game? And there's lots of friendly people that will help you with the blueprint stuff. So it's not as a tight-knit community as C4D, but a lot of this stuff, I mean, this is a special community. That's why, I mean, it's even... I've never experienced something like this online, and so many good people. I can see Onur in chat there. Onur is basically the reason why I started any of this stuff. Randomly, accidentally called the guy from a Facebook group, and he was like, "You got to try School of Motion." I was like, "Okay, all right," and the rest is history.
Yeah. Anybody else have any code comments or? I'm guessing no.
Are you a coder?
It's
No,
interesting.
that's the thing.
I
you don't need it. That's the point,
Yeah.
right? Like Jags and Gabby and Winbush, like none of them are diving into that. You don't have to. Like
Nah, I
forget
took code in
all
school.
that.
I stay away from it.
And like the only time I would ever think I would ever want to do something like that is, let's say I have some ideas for like toy commercials that I want to do, and I want to like shoot some particles at the toy. Like let's say it's a Gundam toy, and I want the shield to come up and then shoot particles at the shield, and then the particles like bounce off or something. Like I'm sure there's a blueprint that already exists for that, or just set it as a collider body. I haven't done anything like that, so I don't know. But that seems like for motion graphics needs, I feel like the needs are so simple that we wouldn't need to do anything too crazy.
Yeah.
The only reason you would get into coding is if you're making interactive experiences, or if you're using like the big LED wall, like the virtual production stuff, then you have to get into I mean, you need a team to do stuff like that. So just syncing everything up and all that.
Yeah,
we're not all Merc.
I'm not a code guy, and that's why you think, oh, nerdy into tech, whatever. He must be a code guy. I'm not a code guy. I learned BASIC in 1980.
QBasic.
Not even QBasic.
VBasic.
Before QBasic, I learned BASIC in 1987, and that was probably the most code I ever got. So I'm just like, I just can't wrap my brain around it. I try. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. And you see all the memes online too, right? Like, code just it works or it doesn't, and sometimes it just magically works and you don't know why it worked or how you got it to work, and that's just like something that I'm like, I don't even, it scares me. So when you see Unreal and you think code, and I think a lot of people immediately just like shut down because of that. So it's good to know.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I think that Epic's working hard to break that stigma, because like you don't actually need to go to that route at all. I'm a nerd, so I like that stuff, but doesn't mean you have to do that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten a lot better, because I remember maybe 3 years ago, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to get into, whether Unity or Unreal. And everybody was saying basically Unity, because like Unreal had this stigma about, you need to know either C, C++ or blueprinting, and Unity was supposed to be like the friendly way to get into it and everything, but I just didn't really jive with it too much. And then I think it was almost like a happy mistake that people started using Unreal for stuff other than games, and I think once they saw there was like a niche for it, they started building Unreal more for, like broadcasting, theatrical, and archviz and automotive and things like that. So I want to say it was like 2 releases ago that they only added the templates for that stuff. Like when you open up Unreal, you'll see they have like a broadcast template, they have a VR template, gaming, and all that stuff. Like that stuff is like recent. So this is stuff that Epic is rapidly trying to iterate on. And so that's why, like with the render engine, or not the render engine, the movie queue, like that's a new way of rendering. Like they just added cryptomats and different multi-passes and things like that. Like that stuff didn't exist like back in 2019 when I first jumped into it. So this is stuff that they're saying what our needs are, and they're kind of building on top of that. So I would even say, like, to the panel, like, if you have ideas for Epic, like, definitely shoot it over to them. Like, I was able to convince them to look into Cryptomats, and they didn't even say anything. I just, like, next thing I know, Cryptomats are there, and they hit me up like, "Hey, Winbush, you see we got Cryptomats," and we figured it out. And so it's just like cool stuff like that's in there. Then like DNX HD and Apple ProRes, and it's just like stuff like the little things that we're used to having just in like Octane and Redshift. Now they're starting to build those into the pipeline as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're coming from that AOV workflow, then it's in EXRs. It's you can do the same thing now.
That's cool.
Yeah, which took them a while to wrap their heads around, because when I would say, like, they would say, "What's something that you need?" And the first thing I said was like, some type of puzzle mat or crypto mat, some type of mat that we could bring it into After Effects for compositing. And they were like, "Why would you want that?" And I was like, "So I could composite in After Effects." And they're like, "Why do you want to go to After Effects? Like, don't you just do everything in Unreal?" And I was like, I explained it to them, like, this is how it typically work. And sometimes you need to do, like certain things in After Effects or Nuke or whatnot. And it just took them a little bit to grasp that idea, because they're used to everybody working in Unreal, ship off your game, and that's it. There's like, no, that's the finish line. There's nothing after that. So it's been interesting seeing how it's all evolving. That's
cool that they're doing that, though. We're going to open it up to questions, too, in the chat. If you have a question, put it in there. We do have a couple already. One of where did it go? I lost it. I remember what it was, though. It was a question about the top tutorials for learning Unreal. And I would say, well, first of all, go to Winbush's channel, and then get the course. Besides anything Winbush, what other resources? Just the Epic stuff? Or are there any other places online?
Lewis, I'm not sure his last name. He does a really great intro on the Unreal online learning platform, and it's called Your First Hour Inside Unreal. And I recommend everybody just start with that. Super straightforward, and he holds your hand and just shows you kind of like, it's similar to the first chapter of Winbush's, where it kind of like, this is the editor, here's where everything is, here's how things move around, here's how you can navigate. It's kind of that simple stuff that when you've been using a program for how many years, you take for granted. Your fingers have that muscle memory, and you just start moving. And but it wasn't that long ago I first opened up Cinema, and I could barely even, like, how can I turn? It's all like, it just takes time. But that was a good one for me. And I did that before Winbush's course, and then to get ready for the course. And then when the course dropped, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Because a lot of people are good with picking up stuff like that. It's just it's not even a matter of knowing what the software does. It's just being able to navigate it quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's like me and Houdini. Like I open up Houdini and I have no idea what's going on.
So you gotta take the other
many
course.
Tabs.
You gotta stop being afraid of Houdini. When you open up a program like that, it's nice to have somebody that's by your side who's, a lot of times, like, I've been in a program and I'll find somebody who knows it and be like, will you just sit with me while I do this, and just, okay, what button do I hit? So I don't have to Google it for 20 minutes. Just please tell me what to do. And I think that's kind of what it's like having your course is, okay, here's the button that you need to press to do the thing, so that you're not just sitting there just kind of lost and Googling things. So, another question in the chat was, how long has everybody been using Unreal? I think that's a good question.
I'd say October, I think, of last year.
Okay.
Was my first project in it.
Cool.
And I picked up Cinema 4D in August or September. So it's literally like back to back, just like, need to learn this stuff now.
How about you, Gabby?
I can't remember basically right around when I started taking the course. I'd say like 4, maybe 5 months.
Cool. Logan?
Yeah, same answer. I think it's August 24th or August 20th, somewhere
Dang.
around that. You
So
know,
everybody's fresh except Winbush.
well that's the whole point. Is like
Hey,
this Winbush's course, like it gives you all the tools you need to take it any direction. Like Jags has gone board games, Gabby's gone mocap. I'm trying to use stuff from David's course from School of Motion. And you know, he really gives you the tools to just like, all right guys, now it's up to you, right?
Yeah, you're really all expanding what you're doing, you know, from the course and learning new things pretty easy, it seems like. So that's a good sign.
I mean, I've only been in it since the summer of 2019 during that SIGGRAPH when they first announced it. So that's when I first jumped into it. When they announced the DataSmith plugin to integrate Cinema 4D with Unreal, I was at SIGGRAPH when they made that announcement. And so I ran home. There was no documentation on it at all. So I stayed up all night figuring it out. And once I did, I made the tutorial on it. And then I went back to SIGGRAPH the next day. And then I just happened to run into Paul, and he's like, dude, I saw your tutorial. Like, we didn't even know that was there. Like, how'd you figure it out so fast? There's nothing on it. And then I just kept running into people at SIGGRAPH. They were like all excited because they saw the tutorial and stuff. And it kind of just, you know, I guess that was kind of like the spark that just kind of kicked it off for me. So people ask me questions, I would go back, I would figure it out. And I'm just like, you know, uploading all the answers to everything. I'm figuring it out. The next thing you know, it's just like I'm fully engulfed in it. So, I mean, it was just like a natural progression. It wasn't really hard at all. Like once you understood what was going on, it was pretty much like I took all my knowledge from cinema and just translated it.
And you're really fast with that all the time. Like the new, what is it called? It's called Meta. What is it called? Meta people? Meta. What is it?
The meta humans.
Meta humans. You were like
Yep.
already doing a tutorial for it as soon as it was dropped.
As soon as I woke up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Brandon Clements is working on a course for us right now on doing ray tracing in Unreal, and he did the same thing. Like he was immediately on his YouTube channel, like creating a video on it. And I think that's what's great is you've got the course, and then when you're done with the course, you can go back to the channel and you can get these updates on things that are going on, and plus you also have updates that come out periodically for the course as well. So so there's new chapters that will just spontaneously appear. So what do you think about the metahuman stuff in general?
Crazy. Insane.
It's ridiculous. Like the look, I just finished playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order the other day, and it looks a lot like that, and I think it's only going to get better. I'm thinking about it like how I could use that for like I do work with a museum at the moment, and a lot of the historical people we talk about are no longer with us from the mid 1800s, and I'm like, what if we just recreate that?
Oh yeah.
And then just use that. Like there's so many possibilities with this. I just need to get a $12,000 mocap suit, or I can just borrow Gabriella's.
I got you with the animations.
Oh, thank you.
But the crazy thing is, like, I just invested so much money over the holiday into the Real Illusion stuff, like Character Creator and iClone and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, out of nowhere, Epic just drops, like, hey, we got something better for free. And here you go. And I'm just like, dang, really? Like, you guys couldn't drop me a hint earlier?
That's their MO,
like,
always, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, like with Brigade and all, or not Brigade, I'm sorry, with Bridge and all of that, it's like, oh, here's some free stuff. Yeah. Cool. They just buy other companies and then just give it to you for free. I'm fine with that.
I actually have a question on Unreal if anyone has an answer. Is it possible to bring Redshift materials from Cinema 4D into Unreal?
I mean, Logan and I both have tutorials on it.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not the way that you think, but I mean, it's possible, but like not with the DataSmith plugin. You wouldn't be able to just, you know, because there's no Redshift for Unreal Engine. And so basically what they have is just converting native cinema materials into Unreal, but you'd have to do it a manual way.
Got it.
Yeah, the
okay.
universal materials are...
That might have to use both.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? The USD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
universal materials are just, especially when it comes to like substance designer and being cross-platform, just having this universal system for everything is just such a great idea. You know, I do like what
Completely
Otoy
agree.
is doing too, because Otoy is integrating their kernel to run other kernels, one kernel to rule them all. So
Right.
they're really on board on this whole like open source, you know, universal everything. And I think that a lot of companies are getting on board with that because they know that people are going to be cross-platform. They know you're going to go to Redshift in Cinema, and then you might, go over to Redshift in Houdini, and then do an export, bring it back into Cinema, and then you might export all that and go into Unreal. I think that having everything just set to a standard instead of everybody having their own material system, such a great
I
idea.
mean, it makes total sense. I was at that Pixar event a couple years ago when they were trying to unify everybody, and they showed the scene from Toy Story 4 working in Houdini, and then they took that same project and just opened it up in Maya, and everything was just there, like no translations or anything. Like the cameras were exact, the materials were exact, and so I'm not sure how many platforms are on board, but I mean, I can see that being the future right there. So no matter what's in your pipeline, it's like everybody could just kind of work together.
And let's see, I don't know if any other questions. Now's the time to answer or to ask them, so then we'll answer. The medieval video came out from Unreal today, and
Yeah, Quixel.
what is that exactly?
So Quixel Megascans, or the Quixel is the company that makes Megascans, they make Bridge, and they make Mixer. And so what they did was they released a 6-part tutorial series, basically using the Megascans assets that they have in there, because they went through and they photo scan a bunch of, like, I guess, like medieval houses and swords and barrels, just like everything from that time period. And so it's all like photoreal assets that you have, and they just basically showed you how they made a level from scratch. So starting from gray boxing to, setting up dynamic camera moves and all types of lighting and texturing techniques and stuff like that. So it pretty much just aligns with the new chapter I dropped, with the course that we have on Mograph. I mean, it's like perfect timing.
That's what I was gonna say. So that's the announcement. If you follow us on any of the social media, you saw the fun Winbush video that I threw together to advertise this new night pack. But if you had the course already, if you just bought it, at the end there's a chapter 14 now, and it says a bonus medieval bonus chapter, and with that you get Jama's night pack for free with that, and then you also get a code. So if you are a student, you will get that as the next chapter in there automatically. And there's a chapter that gives you all the details, and it says here's your model pack. You can download that and do something with that, but you also have the ability to get a discount on all of Jama's packs on Gumroad. So it's medieval. It's what else? There's a dystopian.
There's apocalyptic stuff in there.
Apocalyptic. And the thing is that I think he's going to be adding things, and in the future they're going to be Unreal ready as well, is what we were talking about. So that'll be really cool too. So if you are a student, you go to that page, you download your free pack in chapter 14. There's a link, and it's going to go to a code request form. And the code request form, we match your name, and you do a request for your code that you want, and we'll get you the promo code. You know how promo codes are. You can't just like blanket give them out, because people will take advantage. So we have a list, and we have to like cross-reference, and it's not an automated system yet. So if you send us an email, you got to give us some time to get you the code. We'll get that whole process going pretty streamlined here pretty soon. But so you get a code if you want to check out any of the other packs, and these can be used for anything. You know, you can bring these in. I did the promo in Octane, I have to say, just because I had only 3 hours to make it, and I didn't know Unreal Engine well enough. I had not finished going through your course. I edited your course, but I didn't
Right.
get to do the step-by-step going through. That's what the beta testers were doing. I'm like, man, I wish I could step and figure this out, but I only had a few hours. I couldn't take your whole course in 3 hours, unfortunately, and do it that way. But I did learn an awful lot in general just from editing your course. So I can imagine if I actually, went through it, it would be a lot better. I mean, I know enough to be dangerous, which is good. And you're talking about the blueprint stuff, right? And I was able to figure something out. I downloaded that app when they came out with the head tracking stuff for the iPhone. I was able to take
Oh
that.
yeah, face mocap stuff.
Yeah, I because of what I had osmosed in just editing your course, I was able to go in there, look around, and also with knowing a little bit of espresso, I had an issue. I had a problem that I had to fix. I was able to figure it out without using code, so I was very happy about that. But it was like you would move your head down, and the character's head would go up instead, and the neck. And I'm like, there's just
inverted.
one thing inverted somewhere. So it was enough for me to figure that out. But these packs, they do come textured, and you can translate that into anything. They come transferred. Textured pretty standard, like I guess like FBX, right? I think it's FBX.
Yeah, FBX,
OBJ.
and he gave the Blender files with them as well.
So you can convert it. You can, bring it into something like Cinema 4D and use Octane's converter to convert it to Octane. All of that. So these packs are just great. They're beautiful. I should probably bring it up and show. And we really appreciate Jama doing this and allowing us to give away this pack too, because I mean, some of these are very high valued packs. I'll just say that. But let me bring up the Apocalypse collection, for example, here. These characters are just so incredibly detailed, and it's really cool. And the only thing is the rigging, right? They're not rigged. That's kind of the only thing.
So the apocalyptic stuff is rigged.
Oh, it
but
is.
The
Okay.
Knights pack is just already posed. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you wanted to do like your mocap stuff, like Gabby Storm, then
Mm-hmm.
you could jump in with the apocalyptic characters and the soldiers and
Okay,
stuff
good.
like that, and get busy.
Good. Man, there's some really great stuff. He's got a huge Gumroad, and he has worked on some pretty big films and TV shows, and I think Mandalorian actually, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go check out
Yeah, I
his
think
art
so.
station, I'll put a little link. You can check that out in the description. A lot of Mandalorian stuff, because his art station is, where is it? I'm trying to find the art station. I'm just gonna do a search for Jama art station. You gotta see this portfolio, because it's just absolutely incredible. Yeah, here's all the Mandalorian stuff here on his art station. Just
Wow.
absolutely incredible stuff. So go check that out. Go get yourself a model pack, which you have to get the course in order to get the model pack. So go get the course, then go get the model pack,
Get that course.
and then have fun with it, man. And then check out the links, and you can check out the art station and Gumroad for Jama and all that. Yeah. Any other questions we have? Oh, I did see a question.
Say, did you get the render I sent in the Dropbox or no?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I forgot.
You can
about
show
that.
the Knights
Yeah.
pack there.
Let me pull that up. And in the meantime, there was a question about alpha channels. Somebody was asking how you and if you can pull like an alpha from shadows. Is there like a shadow catcher thing in Unreal yet? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I believe you have to do it with the materials. You could use, oh crap, I can't remember what it's called inside of the new movie render queue. Yeah, who asked it? I could just get back to them.
It was Armand,
Like
I
I'll
think.
send.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Armand. Yeah, I'll hit him up with an answer. I have to look
Yeah.
it up. Something I have to dive in there and
Yeah.
click around real quick.
How you render out shadows on an alpha channel. Cool. All right, let me load up this last video here before we go. And I forgot to put that in my playlist before we got going here. So just give me 1 second. So this is what you show how to create in the course in the bonus chapter here. And this is it's like a diorama using the night pack. This is the night pack that you get. I like the lens flare. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's all natural lens flare and camera.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So yeah, actually the inspiration for the course came from, I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name is Witt. And he does like all these dioramas on Instagram. I've been talking to him for like the past year and whatnot. And he actually took the course and he was saying, like he just released like a holiday diorama. Like that's what he's like really big on. Like he did like an Among Us one, and basically he builds like game levels but in diorama form. And he was like, he wanted to build his last one in Unreal, but he still wasn't confident enough to do it. And so like he just fell back on what he knew, which was Redshift. And he's like, yeah, I'm just struggling with it. So I was like, I'll just do a course and add it as a bonus to show you the steps that I would take, how, you know, I would execute it and whatnot. So that's kind of where the inspiration from that came from. And then, yeah, my friend Ben Motion, he actually did like once he saw it, he wanted to do the audio soundtrack for the sound design and stuff. So big shout out to Ben. He actually just put up a tutorial today on how he did like the audio design and everything for it. So I think he's in the chat there. Yeah, he's right there. So make sure you check out Ben's YouTube channel as well. See how he did the cinematic sounds for that and everything. Cool. But yeah, it was a cool chapter to build out because I never did this type of style before. So I think I might be hooked actually. Like once I start getting into crypto art, I think I might start doing some more elaborate dioramas in there and stuff.
Yeah, it's fun seeing something like that done in Unreal because it's not, you would never expect that, right? You see something like that on Instagram and you're like, oh, you know, Sim 4D, Blender, what is that? Or you're like,
right,
that's fire. What render engine, bro? It's like Unreal. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes,
So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, definitely check Ben's stuff out. He's even been dropping some Premiere tips and tricks, and I've found them really helpful as someone who's just learning Premiere.
Anything else before we get out of here? Anything else anyone want to add about Unreal and their experience?
I have a
Get
question.
in, dive in.
Sure. What's that?
What is everyone excited to work on? Like a personal project that you want to use Unreal for?
I could say a client thing I'm working on right now.
Okay. I'm
doing, yeah, I won't get in trouble because it's generic, but yeah, doing some Avatar work for Nickelodeon.
Nice.
Cool.
So
Super
Avatar,
cool.
The Last Airbender, doing it all in Unreal right now.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Would you? When do you think we'll see it? I'm not sure if you're allowed to say like ballpark time.
I don't even.
I don't even pretend I didn't even ask.
I literally just started it, so
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
How about you, Logan?
Yeah, well, that kind of first short that I did, I'm going to use that as like a learning experience, and I'm going to carry on in the lights, camera, render and do another more like intense, dark kind of like an alien invasion, cyberpunk type of a short. And then I know, yeah, Jags and I got a couple of things in mind to work together on, which I'm excited
Nice.
about. I'm not going to talk about, but yeah, I got a couple of, and yeah, that's just another plug for coming on over to Winbush's Discord. Like, there's a lot of really positive, happy people there, and you know, you never know when you're going to start like working with somebody, and just kind of one of those like organic relationships are formed there instead of like going and, you know, I mean, COVID sucks, right? So that place feels like a hangout.
Yeah. Well, I need to
about
finish
you?
taking the course for sure. Like
Stop
the
being afraid
second
of
time.
Unreal, Dave.
I know. I know.
Oh.
I need to not be afraid.
Fired.
I've like so I edited it, so I have to kind of do it the second time. I need to go back to like the last few chapters, especially, and really run through the process of finishing out a render. That's the part where it gets kind of hazy for me, where I feel like since I was only editing and not pressing the buttons, like I don't remember. You know how
Right.
the muscle memory is. It's like
Yeah,
I can see it. Now I need to actually go back and do it so that next time I'm creating a promo and I have only 3 hours, I can actually like power up Unreal instead. So that's my goal.
Honestly,
Chapter 8.
figuring out the
Chapter
render
8.
part was probably the toughest part for me. Like when I was first getting into Unreal, because I'm like building out this stuff, and I'm just like, how the heck do I render this stuff? Like I can make it into a video game and play around in it, but I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to render. So I would just scour, like Twitch and YouTube, and I'm just like, how did you render that? And people are like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I don't. So it took a minute to figure out, but once I had that aha moment, it's like, oh, okay, dope.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun to see you doing some crypto art in Unreal too. So
Yeah.
100%. I have some plans with EJ of all people, because you know how we did that Fall Guys type level for Unreal last year, and so I was thinking it'd be cool to do crypto art like that, but also as an incentive, give away a level as a playable level. So whoever wins the crypto art will also get an executable file, so they could play that crypto art level.
play their crypto.
So
Cool.
You'll
Yeah,
have to
so
do
that
something meta with it, like put
Nice.
the QR code. I don't know, put the QR code to it in there or something, so it goes.
Oh,
to the
it
digital
could be
piece.
dope. I could get like a Xbox box or something and just print out like your own graphic art, and then on the back of it, or when you open it, instead of a CD, it's just like a QR code or something.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, see, figured it out.
Cool.
you got to make your own stuff, just kind of like what Beeple did. You'll have your own
What
physical
Beeps,
piece
yeah.
to go with it. I got mine sitting right here, ether into the ether.
Yeah, that was really smart that he did that. He's the first person I saw really do like a physical item with that stuff. So
He's
it's
gonna
pretty
make
dope.
me rich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard.
My piece I bought for $1,000. There's a version of it that went for 50 grand last night, and I'm like, diamond hands. I'm not selling my Beeple art.
No.
Diamond hands.
Yeah, you guys left me out of chat. EJ hit me up like, "Are you gonna bid on some crypto?" I'm like, I had no idea you guys were all going in on it. Like,
Oh, on
I had no
on Beeple.
when he's doing it on Nifty. Yeah, I guess you
Yeah.
guys had like a chat the night before or something.
Well, me and Aryev and EJ and Matt are like constantly for like the last 4 or 5 years. We've had a text thread, and sometimes it's one of those things I have to put it on no notifications because I'm trying to work, and I come back
Right.
to 150 text messages, but it's like our ongoing chat about what's going on in the industry and gossip, stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, we're always chatting about crypto and what crypto's coming out, and is crypto a thing, and is it worth it, and it's like Beeple's doing well, but should I buy some other crypto art? Yeah. So
Yeah, I know Kev over at Maxon, he's been buying a couple of pieces like from random artists on Nifty and stuff.
yeah, I got
So,
me a
cool.
Stuzor, but that's
Yeah.
all I've got. Matt's got some others, and I think some of the guys got Blake Catherine. But Blake Catherine's a good
she's
one.
a big cat collector.
Yeah, she's got a
yeah.
bunch of drops and stuff. So
I missed out. I wanted the Rick and Morty stuff, but just to have it, like I know it's like napkin drawings, but I thought it'd be still cool just to have
yeah,
some of Roland stuff.
for sure. And it's taken off. It, like Beeple said on the School of Motion interview that he just did, it's going to take a while for people to adapt to this, but I think it's really cool that it's not just Cinema 4D artists, it's not just Mograph artists. There's people coming in from different parts of the art industry, and of course, like you, doing Unreal stuff. It's going to be cool to see some Unreal art as crypto. So
Yeah, because at first it kind of threw me off because it looked like everybody was just doing synthwave stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? You know,
It's
like now
all
it's getting more diverse.
yeah,
But
it
yeah,
was very much 80s vibe, and then there's this whole genre of trash art on purpose, like
yeah,
trash
that
art
too.
for the
Yeah,
for the purpose of trash art, and it was very much they talked about this in there too, and in that episode, and it's because we talk about this with EJ all the time when we're talking about crypto. Like there's always a skull and a snake, and then there's like someone's like head, but it's bald because they don't want to render hair because that'd be a lot of work.
yeah. See, it's just the Daz characters.
Yeah, just just repurpose Daz characters, whatever. But no, there are people coming in from different industries in the art industry. I'm really interested to see where that goes. Real interested to see
Yeah.
where Unreal goes in the future, and of course
I'd love to see everybody on this panel get into it because I think
Yeah.
everybody here just has the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no mocap yet, Gabby. So I mean, you do some
Get in there.
mocap crypto art. I mean, you're not just seeing
If
Daz
you do a
characters spinning in
tutorial
circles.
on it,
Yeah,
I'm in. I just
don't
need a
always need the
Winbush
tu-
tutorial. That's it.
the
So
process.
this is such an uneducated question, but I'm gonna ask: is crypto art literally just digital art? Like, is it just a still that you just post on some X channel and it becomes classified as crypto art? How does it work?
You basically,
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, you apply or you get invited from a crypto art company like you got Nifty, you got Super Rare, you've got a lot of other ones that you can actually get into without an approval process, but you're not going to make as much money. But
Yeah, like
they,
Rarible and stuff.
yeah, and they use a lot of times you buy it with Bitcoin, you buy it with Ether, or in the case of like Nifty, you can actually just use cash credit card. But they attach an Ethereum token to the piece of art, so it's basically locked with that. And then there's with Ethereum, you can actually like attach URLs and other things to it. So it could be a video, it could be a photo, whatever it is. But that basically is generated and locked onto that. So like nobody can fake it. So you're
Okay.
it's like, yeah, I could have a picture of that. I could screenshot that, but that's not the actual one. So if somebody mints 100 copies of something, there's only 100 tokens that match with that. And you can prove that you own something with a token.
Okay.
So like this piece I have back here shows mine, and it has like a piece of it's got a thing on the back, it's got a display, and it shows a QR code, and it will link to my piece of art on the internet that's digitally signed.
Okay.
So the physical part of it is more of just a bonus.
Yeah, and I guess my other question is: does it have to be like, what if someone makes like a lightsaber, hypothetically? Like, is that owned by Disney all of a sudden, or?
That's an interesting place, and again, something else that Winkleman addressed was there's a lot of fair use when it comes to things like parody. Like he does Mickey Mouse and Hot Pockets and Buzz Lightyear and all sorts of weird stuff. And because it's considered parody, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Okay.
It really depends. I don't think a lightsaber in general, anything that's going to be copyrighted, like if you have a model of a lightsaber, that's not copyrighted. It's just a model of a lightsaber.
Right.
So whatever
Just
you
don't
do
call it
with
a lightsaber.
Yeah, call it a light
Saber of light,
Yeah,
laser sword.
yeah, a light projector weapon thing. I don't know, but I think you can get away with it. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's interesting to track how these work. I think School of Motion has an article on crypto art that EJ dropped, so I think it explains it a lot. And then if you go listen to the episode, it's interesting. You can listen to the Beeple episode on the Mograph podcast right before Beeple's drop, before the craziness, and then you go listen to the School of Motion one after the craziness and find out what he learned in that 2-week time span there.
Right.
all about it.
I had this idea for a project of like modeling and designing levels of national parks in Unreal because I because of COVID haven't been able to go to national parks. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just make it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna make my own national
playful
park.
thoughts.
I
Exactly.
mean, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's kind of
And make it interactive so you could walk around in it.
VR.
exactly.
We do it.
that's exactly what I've been doing, and why I like the first reason why I took Winbush's course is, and I've talked to you about this a little bit, Dave. Is I'm the director of imagination at Hollows Camp, and this is coming on the second year where we're not going to be able to have kids at camp.
Yeah.
And I'm the adventure master. I'm super, weird and quirky, and I love teaching kids about nature and, unicorn hunts and building fires and building forts and all that stuff. And so, I mean, my end game from the beginning with Unreal is creating a camp where kids come and spend half the day learning Unreal in the morning, and then the other half the day actually in camp, like experiencing camp. And then, okay, now we're bringing that together. And so this summer, it's like, well, can I get a virtual camp built and made and then sent out for kids to play for free, right? Camp's really important. Being in nature is really important, especially during COVID and lockdown. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't have, this forest paradise sitting in their backyard.
Yeah.
So how can you bring that to them?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think it's this is the kind of projects that you're going to see a lot more of, like digital nature camp or national park.
Oh, I love that. I love to sit, like, if I've been cooped up in the house for too long, I can only run so much, before it's like, okay, running's fine and good, but I want to go somewhere and there's nowhere to go. So a lot of times I'll just sit and, meditate, essentially sit in my little beanbag chair, put on the VR helmet and go to somewhere else and take a journey. A lot of these will actually move you through a journey or something. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to get rid of that cabin fever for sure.
I'm excited to see where VR is going to be in 10 years, just like
Yeah.
real-time stuff, right? You're going to be,
AR.
it's going to be a whole generation of kids with headsets on permanently, right?
Yep.
Like,
I'm sure they'll have the new Apple
need to do
headgear.
You need to do an episode in VR, like in Rec Room or something.
Yeah. A few years ago, we did a VR meetup for fun. It worked pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
But I imagine it'd be a lot easier to do now because a lot more people have access to it. Alt Space or what's the other ones?
A VR chat.
Yeah, VR. Well, yeah, VR chat and yeah. So maybe we'll see everybody online. I can't wait to see what y'all do in the future. What you have coming up. Make sure you keep posting stories, and I'm sure the people that are watching this probably hit you up online and have questions for you too. So you can share the knowledge. All right, let's go down the line here. John, you're youtube.com/JohnJagsKnee.
That's correct. And same thing on Instagram.
Cool.
So
Cool. Gabby, you're at Feeding Wolves. And Logan, you are at Hollow Woodsman. Of course, Jonathan Winbush, winbushimmersive.com, but you got your YouTube, Insta, all of that. You got your Twitch channel, which you've been streaming on every Saturday for the most part.
Yeah.
Come hang out and Zoom. I try to make it as often as I can on Saturday nights, and it's very laid back and chill, and we just play video games on the interwebs. And,
Yeah, a lot of Jackbox.
Yeah.
Been getting in the Rocket League lately, some Fall Guys, Among Us, just good chill time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time.
Watch my daughter show up and school y'all at Cards Against Humanity,
Yeah, that's
It's so
a
funny.
good time. Yeah.
So check everybody out on their websites. Make sure you check us out on mograph.com. If you want to check out the classes, it's mograph.com/classes. We got more classes in the works right now, which will be released later on in the year. Make sure that you join Winbush's Slack channel. I'm sorry, not Slack channel, but your Discord channel. Talk to him about Discord.
Yeah.
And then we have a Slack channel. You can politely ask us for access to that. And if you go to our website, there's a way to get to it that way, or you can just email us info@mograph.com. And that is about it, I think. Any other points I need to make before we leave?
Gabby, what are you working on? What are you excited about?
I'll keep it simple. Facial motion. Now that I got the gloves and I got the body, I need to get the face, and I'm happy. That's all I want.
Okay.
Oh,
Looking
man.
forward
I
to it.
think I'm gonna wait for the new iPad because like all the facial mocap stuff is on iOS, and I believe the iPad Pros have depth cameras in them, right?
They have depth cameras
so-
and LiDAR as
Yeah.
well. So
So I think I'm gonna wait because like it's been like a year since the last one came out, right? So there should be like a new one around the corner.
I think so.
So I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna wait for the new iPad so I too could do some facial animation stuff.
Gabby, you could get like the whole suit and then put like the little thing on it that holds your phone so it gets your face movements, and then you can integrate that with the meta humans, have it super realistic. People aren't even going to know that it's a video game. They're going to think it's real.
We're in a simulation.
Yeah, probably.
Logan, you posted what did you say? You're like, it's the future. You're
It's
right.
not like simulation or the singularity is coming, something like
is
that.
near.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for having us, Winbush and
Yeah,
Dave. Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, really. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Get that course, people. It'll change your whole workflow.
Awesome. All right, we're going to get out of here. And everybody have a good night, and we'll see you on the interwebs. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.